Okay, so before we begin, I want to basically say if you have not watched the Netflix Devilmaycry show, I highly recommend you stop whatever you're doing and go watch it. This video will contain spoilers for that show, so go watch it before watching this video. Another thing I will say is that I do extremely apologize to some of my subscribers and viewers and some people who watch my videos. Why there's been a lack of videos. I've been very busy traveling and whatnot. And the last thing I will say is that I'm a huge Devilmaycry fan. You know, everybody that is part of my friend group knows, like, my favorite video game series is Devilmaycry. I've been playing the series since literally the second game, Devilmaycry 2, which is by far the worst game. Do not play Devilmaycry 2 at all. But what really got me into the series was Dante as a character design-wise, and also just the animations of him flipping and dodging and whatnot. As a kid, I thought that shit was cool. And then, of course, I played Devilmaycry 3, which then turned into be like one of my favorite video games of all time. And, you know, Devilmaycry means so much to me. You know, I've talked numerous times about how much Devilmaycry is like the series for me. So when the Netflix series was announced, and that it was going to be from the same team or the same person who produced the Castlevania show, I think his name is Adi Shankar, and he finally got the rights for Devilmaycry, and he took us fucking 6 years or so to give us Devilmaycry, and it's finally out, and the whole community is up on flames. Way to fucking go. Of course, Devilmaycry fans never happy, but you know, it is what it is. And I just saw a lot of people's opinions, and it was just like really haunting, some of the things I was hearing. Like, I was so nervous watching this show before watching it myself. You had some people saying this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and you had other people saying this is the worst shit. This is like DMC level of bad, and I'm like, oh lord, oh god, not another DMC Devilmaycry situation. Oh no. And then I decided, fuck it. I love this franchise. I love it to death. Let me go watch it. And I watched it. I watched all 8 episodes back to back to back. And I gotta say, and I'm gonna piss off a lot of the Devilmaycry community when I say this, but I really like this show. I really love it. I love it. I'll even go as a step further, and I'm gonna piss a lot of fans off. I think in terms of a spectacle, this is way better than the early 2000s anime, and this is way more newcomer friendly than that show. I would recommend the Netflix show over the early 2000s show, even though that show is more accurate to the source material. In many cases, I would recommend this because it tries to do its own thing. And I think that's the reason why I enjoy the show so much. It's because it does its own thing. Now, that's not to say that everything about the show is perfect. We're going to get into all of that. But for the most part, I really enjoyed this show. So, without further ado, join me as I go over what I thought of the show, my good, the bad of the show, and then also explain why I think a lot of people are just upset and are mad about the show. And then I'm going to also give you some recommendations of like which games to play in order. So sit down, relax, and join me on this magical journey. So, to talk about Devilmaycry, Netflix Devilmaycry, I have to first talk about the positives. The things that I really enjoyed about this show. Again, I'm gonna get blasted by the DMC community, but I don't give a fuck. All right, I don't care. If I'm disowned, I'm disowned. But there are some positives I have to say. I would say, in terms of animation, I really think this show is pretty good. It's not as good as the early 2000s anime, Studio Madhouse Devilmaycry. For the sake of this video, we're going to call it Studio Madhouse Devilmaycry. but I think the animation really looks good. I like a lot of the character designs of the characters and the way how the show is presented and look. It's not on the level of like Castlevania Nocturne, which I think Castlevania Nocturne looks incredibly good, especially in the second season. It looks incredibly good, but for the most part, it's pretty damn well. I like that Dante's design. There's different eras that you can see in his design. There's the DMC3 design of Dante you can see, and then you can also see his Devilmaycry 5 rendition where he just looks like a fucking bum. So overall, I really like the aesthetic and what they're going for with the series. It looks grounded, but still Devilmaycry-ish for the most part. Another positive I have for the show, and this is the biggest positive I would give the show, is the action scenes. I think this is the shit that I would sell people on for the series. I think the action scenes are incredibly good. Way better than the Studio Madhouse show in terms of action scenes. But truly, really the highlight of the show. Like, there are some really cool stuff that they do with the action scenes that I really enjoy. I do love, my favorite action scene is actually the highway fight scene, because Agni and Ruka, my favorite demons in Devilmaycry history, is in there. Even though their design is way different than the game, I love that whole fight scene, and like Dante using the weapons near the end, and then using the motorbike, like the Cavalier weapon you get in DMC 5. Really enjoyed it. There's also some good callbacks to those fight scenes and whatnot from the games and whatnot. So overall, I really would highly say this is the pitch that I would sell people on, is the action scenes. The action scenes are pretty damn good. And that to me is what Devilmaycry is octane, crazy, in-your-face action. It's an action spectacle, and I think they deliver on that front, which is something I can't say about the Madhouse Devilmaycry show. And, you know, this is why I would sell this to new people. Another thing I would say about this show that I really love is the additions and new lore stuff that was added into this game, or expansion of the lore that this show does. Because it is non-canon, that is right, it is non-canon to the original Devilmaycry series, but it takes amalgamations from different Devilmaycry incarnations, including DMC Devilmaycry, which is a bold choice. That is a very bold choice to do. Some of the things that they do in here is really cool and interesting, and I really love. Like, for instance, I like the idea that the government knows that there's demons and shit, and that they created a task force to take down demons. Anybody who's a demon is automatically eradicated. That is really cool idea. I'm surprised Devilmaycry's never really gone into detail about that, and to have it finally in this show is really fucking cool. I really like the idea of like seeing other demons hunters in the show. In the Devilmaycry games, we always get hints or allusions to other demon hunters, but we never actually get to see them. So for this show to finally expand upon that and talk about that is really dope. And I really enjoyed that as an aspect. And there's just so many other little nanny detail and cooks and candy that I liked that this show tried to present, that I was just really impressed. I am always going to be an advocate for trying new things. If we're going to do an adaptation of shit, let's try new things and challenge the audience and whatnot. And for me, I was sold on a lot of the cool ideas that they had. And that's probably another reason why I'm a huge advocate for this anime, because I like a lot of the new stuff that they were doing. Even the simple fact how they were explaining like how like magic kind of doesn't exist. It's almost like science, almost like how the MCU works. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's fine. That's a fine little change. So for me, I was more open to a lot of the ideas and whatnot. Another thing I love about this show is tons of nods and tons of callbacks to Devilmaycry media as a whole, and just Capcom media as a whole. I mean, the simple fact that they reference Resident Evil is such a fucking awesome thing. There's one line where Dante's like, this has to be the worst job you sent me on, and so next to the Raccoon City job. And I bust out laughing because I was like, that's a cool nod to Resident Evil. But also, if anybody knows the history of Devilmaycry, you would know that Devilmaycry originally started as another version of Resident Evil 4. So for them to tie that back in was really cool. Also, of course, they talked about BOWs. There's one scene where Dante gets his ass shot, taking a shotgun literally to the fucking chest. And after he heals, he uppercuts a person, and the scene switches to a TV screen, a game screen of Street Fighter, and it's Ken doing a Shoryuken Ken. And I thought that was a cool little nod to the fans of the Devilmaycry series who knows like the voice actors. So if anybody doesn't know, Ruben Langdon does the voice of Dante in all the games. He's the GOAT, but he also voices Ken in the Street Fighter games. So that little nod was cool. There's literally a nod to Mega Man, of course. There's a nod to there's two nods to Devilmaycry, two characters. Lucia, Devil Hunter. I was shocked to see her. She just randomly is in one fucking scene. I was like, what? As a Devilmaycry 2 enjoyer, that was interesting. This is one thing that I don't think a lot of people's been mentioning. The fucking suits, the guards at the beginning of episode 1, they almost reminded me of the puppets enemies of DMC 1. And then the demons, the lesser demons, are called Makais, or the demon realm is also called Makai. And I was just thinking to myself, isn't that a nod to Darkstalkers? Because in Darkstalkers universe, the demon realm is also called Makai. So I'm like, is it connected? Is the Devilmaycry Netflix team trying to make a connection there? So I actually thought that was really cool if they went with it. If not, that's probably just my Capcom nerd brain going off. Another nod is to Dance Dance Revolution, and of course DMC 5, Dante's dance with the flouse hat. He does the pose for it, and he fucking loses horribly. Dante cannot dance, so he loses in Dance Dance Revolution, and he gets graded a letter grade, just like in the Devilmaycry games. If you, depending on how you do near the end of the game or near end of every mission, you get graded on your performance. So I thought that was a cool little nod to that. And also the nod of him playing Dance Dance Revolution was also fucking dope, because Dance Dance Revolution is owned by Konami, and what else is connected to Konami? Castlevania, and the team also did Castlevania. So I was like, that's a cool little nod. Again, cool little nods. And of course, my favorite nods is the bosses, the minions, the big bad minions of this show are all references to fucking Devilmaycry bosses. So Agni Ruga, my favorite, even though they have heads, they're not supposed to have heads. Little nitpick, but they're in here. Plasma from DNC 1 is a villain in here. Cavalier from Devilmaycry 5 is in here, even though he doesn't shoot electricity. Come on, guys. Although, maybe because he doesn't have Trish, so it is what it is. And last but not least, Echidna is also in here, and she is a DMC 4 boss that Nero and both Dante fight. So overall, I was really happy with some of the Easter eggs. It got to the point where I was like, okay, enough Easter eggs. All right, enough Easter eggs. I don't need no more. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Hello, future Mr. Degenerate here. I totally forgot to put that I really love the nods to the manga, such as Dante not wanting to accept certain jobs or any job that would get him like emotionally attached. That is a huge callback to his Tony Redgrave persona, so I really appreciate that. I love when he shoots his guns. After a while they'll break because the way Dante shoots, he shoots his gun so fast, he pulls the trigger so fast that it breaks, which will lead into another Easter egg is Noel Goldstein, the creator of Every and Ivory, his iconic pistols, is referenced in the show. I also love Enzo. Enzo, my boy, is a nod to not only the manga character, but also a nod to Bayonetta Enzo, who also gives Bayonetta her missions and detailed informations and whatnot. Really cool. So again, cool little nods and references I love in this show. But moving on, I would say my next and final positive for this show is the characterization of certain characters. I'm not going to say all, because we're going to go into negatives and right after this. But for the most part, I really enjoyed the characterizations that they had. They are very different from our characters that we know from the games. However, some of the characters I thought was handled really well and still captured the essence of what that character was. So for instance, I would say going in ranking order, I would say the White Bunny was the best character in the show. It is kind of crazy how we have not gotten this character in a DMC game. His mannerism, the way how he carries himself, his reasoning for what he's doing is very understandable, and you can sympathize with him. He's very a sympathetic villain compared to most villains in the Devilmaycry, who are just like curly mustache motherfuckers. His plight made sense. And again, his attitude and his talk and how he connects into Lady, I thought was genius and really well done. He gets the penultimate episode in episode 6 along with Lady. And I just thought he was such a genius villain. But just like every villain, one of the things I really found interesting about him is how much of a hypocrite he is. And I thought that was very fascinating to really explore such a hypocritical villain in the Devilmaycry universe, where he's like, I want all the Makai, the demons, to, you know, live a happy life and whatnot, but yet he's willing to go and experiment and use them as an experiment in order to achieve his ultimate goal. I thought that was so interesting and made him a very interesting character. Next but not least, our main character himself, Dante. I thought Dante's handled pretty well. Now, there's a disclaimer. He is a little different from Devilmaycry 3 Dante. He's supposed to be like a mirror to Devilmaycry 3 Dante, where he's confident but doesn't have all his shit together. In the Netflix series, I think they went for more of the meme that the DMC community goes for, which is the wacky cuckoo pizza man. But he does have an arc, which is him finally embracing that he is a demon, that he is part of Sparta's lineage, and I thought that fits with DMC 3's whole thing of him finally embracing his heritage. But everything about the mannerism and everything is very much Dante. It's just he does get his ass handed to him a lot, which I actually don't mind. I know that's a tension amongst the DMC community. I know they don't like when Dante gets his ass handed to him or whatnot. But for me, I thought that was really a smart idea because it makes the character feel vulnerable. I love that the show actually explores his healing factor. Like we don't really see it that much in the games. Like he gets stabbed and he just walks it off like, oh, well, that shit just happened. And here, when Dante gets stabbed and he gets shot, he's down for the count for a little bit. And I thought that was so refreshing because it made all the action scenes. This is why I think the action scenes are so great in this show, or good in the show, is because he's vulnerable. This is a Dante who's gonna make clumsy mistake and there's gonna be repercussion. It isn't like in the DMC games, or especially 3, where if Dante makes a mistake, it's played off as a laugh and you kind of roll with the punches and he rolls with the punches. In this show, if he makes a mistake, he's down for the count. And I thought that was really genius. And again, that's when you're doing different media, you want to show different aspect, and you know, it just makes for a more entertaining show. So overall, I really enjoyed this interpretation of Dante. I can see him eventually becoming DMC, Devilmaycry 3, 4, the different incarnations of Dante. Especially, I could definitely see, if we get there, if we want to go that route, DMC 2 Dante, where he's just a fucking emo based off of the fucking ending of where we leave him off at. But yeah, really enjoyed him. Actually, before we move on, I just want to also say, like, I actually kind of love the idea that Dante doesn't know about his heritage. Like, his mom probably filled him in on a little bit of things, or like, you're special son and you got abilities and whatnot, but she never goes into full like detail about like your heritage. Like, no, you're a half breed, you're a half demon, and your father is the legendary Dark Knight Sparta. Like, that to me is like really interesting. That is something that is taken directly from the DMC Devilmaycry game, where Dante in that game doesn't know anything about his heritage and he's just fucking around and whatever. This is the same route, and I was very interested in about that, and I thought that was a really cool twist to the Devilmaycry lore and whatnot. So I actually think how they did it in this show is better than what they did in the DMC game. And also special shout outs to my boy Johnny Bosch for voicing Dante. When they first announced him as Dante, I was kind of like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I was like, this is not, no, because he plays another character. He plays Nero from DMC 4 and 5. So, you know, and both of them act completely different. Nero to me is more of a serious person with a little bit of humor. Dante's just straight up humor and wacky pizza man that's sometimes depressed. So for me, I was kind of like, what? But then when you hear him more and more and more, I actually felt like he sounded like a cocky version of Ichigo. So to me, it didn't bother me. And that's probably because I'm currently watching all of Bleach, leading up to 100 Years War. But, you know, yeah, I thought he did a great job as Dante, you know. So, you know, kudos to him. Last but not least, or sorta almost last, is my boy Virgil. You know, you can't talk about Devilmaycry without the storm that is approaching Virgil himself. And Virgil is barely in the show. He is referenced a few times, and we get a slight introductory leading into season 2 of him near the end of the final episode. But the reason I say I like what they did with him is because they're doing something new with him, which is having him be willing to work with Mundus. That is fascinating, because if anybody knows the history of Mundus and fucking Nero, and Virgil, you know that motherfucker has done some horrible things to our boy Virgil. And he's responsible for the death of Eve, Dante and Virgil's mom. So why the fuck is he working for him? Does he not know about his heritage similar to Dante? And so he's down to work for him? I have no idea, but that was so fascinating. I was like, whoa. And I think why I'm also kind of like cool with it and down for this is because in the typical Devilmaycry fashion, Virgil never gets enough time to really shine and have a whole episodes and whatnot dedicated to him. So it would be kind of cool to have like a whole season just dedicated to Virgil saving Dante's ass after him getting trapped by a lady. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm very optimistic. Hopefully it pans out well, but that twist was so cool. Like, that was the stinger to hook me in, and I was hooked. Also, I like the voice actor who's voicing Virgil. He sounds really dope. Would have preferred Daniel Southworth, but Dan Southworth. I said Dan Southworth, but he sounds good. Last but not least, we got to get into Lady, which is going to almost segue into the negative. But the one positive I'll give Lady is that I like her origin story. I like her design. I know that's contentious, but there is a nod to her DMC 5 design in episode where after episode 6, where she goes and meet with Doc Karn for the first time. I don't mind that she curses. I could give two flying fucks about her cursing. Cause I curse. Shit, fuck, piss, fuck off. I don't give a fuck. And I really, really enjoyed the new take where they were going, what they were originally going with her tying into the White Rabbit. Again, her having her own squad, taking down demons and shit. I like that idea. I love that premise. And then we're going to tag into the fucking negatives of the show. And we're going to just lean right into it. The biggest negative I have of this show, and what really hurt the show in my humble opinion, is Lady's characterization. I can't stand where they leave off Lady near the end of this fucking show. I cannot stand it. I literally was like, what the fuck is this? This is what pisses me off, and I can completely understand why fans are like rejecting this interpretation of Lady, because Lady in Devilmaycry 3 goes to the same arc that Netflix Lady does, which is that she hates demons and she takes it upon herself to eradicate demons and whatnot. And in DMC 3, she thinks like it is her sworn duty to kill her father. Like, no one else has to do it. It has to be her. It is her destiny. It is her legacy and heritage to stop that man. No one else can do it. And it is very powerful and very good. And by the end of Devilmaycry 3, I would say she is the most responsible person to basically tell Dante, like, get your shit together and take up the mantle of your father. She's the one that pushes Dante to be a better man in DMC 3, and this is why her character is so crucial to Devilmaycry history and lore. There's a reason why so much people in the DMC community ship her with Dante, because she genuinely makes Dante a better person. In fact, she's the reason why the fucking shop is called Devilmaycry, all right? Because, you know, they're kicking demons' ass, making them bleed, making them cry, but also a double tundra is that even demons have a heart. Even demons have a soul. And can share the emotion just like a human, and humans have just as nasty and ugly side in them, just like fucking demons. And that's all touched upon on the show. I think slapping you in the face with it, which we're going to get into that as a negative, but it handles it. That's her character. That's her character in a nutshell. What I don't like about this version of Lady is that they took that character arc and didn't complete it, or took that character arc and just said she didn't learn shit. So all the demons that she slaughtered while she was working as Darkon and shit, and the whole speech that fucking the White Rabbit gave, which is basically the reason why the White Rabbit is the way how he is and why he became who he became, is because of Lady. It's like she ignored all that bullshit, all the suffering that she's seen and whatnot from the lesser demons, the refugees demons, and said, yeah, fuck all that. Dante, you gotta get captured, and yeah, we're gonna invade the demon world. So you're basically turned Lady into a lapdog, and that is not Lady. By the end of Devilmaycry 3, and moving on to 4, and then moving on to 5, Lady is chilled the fuck out. She even tells Nero at one point, like, yo, killing a family member is really fucking tough. Like, you won't recover from that shit. And if you read the memos in Devilmaycry 5, you find out that Lady's actually been, like, randomly shedding tears and really feeling bad that she killed her dad. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool character development and really cool, like, a dynamic. And that one little scene is way more impactful with what the fuck they did with her in this shit. Like, I didn't give a fuck about her cursing. I don't mind that she takes up, like, more screen time or has the same amount of screen time as Dante. Again, she's a crucial character to the series, just as much as Virgil. So I didn't mind all that bullshit. I don't mind it. What I have a problem is taking an arc and not doing anything with it. Now, granted, they might explore it more, but you just turned her into a fucking monster. Like, she's unrootable by the end of the show. She's unlikable by the end, and that's not Lady. You know, Lady at some point comes to the realization, like, no, like, Dante is a good demon. I should help him. And this, I just didn't get that. And the simple fact that, again, we had a whole episode 6 is the best fucking episode. We had a whole episode showing the dichotomy between the White Rabbit and fucking Lady. And the simple fact that she didn't overthink it and think, like, shit, I'm cause of why the White Rabbit turned evil. I'm the cause of the reason why all this shit. Maybe I need to think a little harder before like jumping in and judging people without, you know, recklessly killing them, or prejudging them without getting to know them, is so against Lady. And I just fundamentally disagree with that. That took the show from a 9 for me down to an 8. Like, I was teetering before a fucking 7.5, but I'll give it an 8. But man, I could not stand that character change. And it's just like, so what are we going to do to redeem this character now? So I just don't get it. The last thing I will say, a bunch of negatives I have. I don't like the CG. Again, you have Agni and Ruger, one of my favorite demons. Just fucking have heads, one. But that's fine, whatever. It's their interpretation. I don't give a fuck. What I do mind is having CG. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the budget ran out, but I don't know if they were just like, hey, Capcom only gave us this amount of budget. But to see, like, some of the demons in CG was just such, I was just like, no. And then, like, Dante Devil Trigger, which I like how his DT looks. It literally looks like an homage to DMC4's Dante's design. But this time now it's a more younger version. But seeing it in fucking 3D or CG, it looks fucking awful. So I did not like that. It does get better later on when it's like in the dark and it pops a little bit more, and I like the way how it looks. But man, having CG / 3D and models next to hand-drawn animation is fucking weird, and I never liked that shit, and I never will. Another issue I have with the show is the messaging and how it approaches its messaging. Devilmaycry, to me, writing is so prestige in a way where it's just It's what the characters don't say is what makes it more powerful. There are so many moments where characters are just not saying anything or saying stuff, but they're not outright explicitly saying it. And in this show, one of my greatest issues is that some of the political stuff is like a little bit heavy-handed. It's like in your face. And I guess if this is supposed to be like a rock and roll concert, I guess that's fine. But, you know, for Devilmaycry, it's the subtlety and the nuances of its themes that's sprinkled in subtly into the story. You know, in Devilmaycry 4, you could argue the theme is, or one of the major, like political themes in that is like, the consequences of, or the damage of religion, or the dark side of religion, or whatever. You know, DMC5 can talk about, is about power, the obsession of power. You know, DMC3 is about heritage. You know, all this stuff is handled on a you could say it's generic, but it's handled in a way that the subtext is so like hidden, but when characters speak, you get what they're saying, but it's hidden and hidden so well. This just felt like one of my friends who, he's not really a huge DMC fan, like my homeboy Jason. If he's watching this video, he knows what I'm fucking talking about. He says Devilmaycry doesn't have a story. And I just kind of like, it does. He would probably like this show and how it handles its subject matters, because it's directly in your face. And I just think, like, for me, Devilmaycry is way more smarter than that. And I wish Andy Shanghai would have trusted the audience a little bit more to handle like deep, thoughtful conversation, but sprinkle it underneath all the bombastic action and soap opera drama, instead of bluntly shoving it down your face, because it is all bluntly there. I don't mind that they went for it. A lot of people is like, they don't like the shit that they're talking about. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I think that's fine for DMC5 to talk about political stuff. I think it's fine for them to address certain things or topics or whatever. These are all shit that's been hinted in the Devilmaycry series, so I didn't mind that. I just wish it was handled with a little bit more grace. Also, I would say I wish we had more gothic aesthetic going on for Devilmaycry. Like, Devilmaycry is literally the gothic game. Like, there's a lot of gothic imagery, you know, and whatnot. And I really just wish we got to see more of that gothic imagery, especially when we go to hell. Like, I'm not expecting it to look like just a barren wasteland when I saw it. I wanted it to look more like in the video games, where it's like kind of like angel-y and whatnot. And I'm just like, bro, like, what is this? So, you know, hopefully in the next season we'll get to travel to different parts of the Makai world. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of how, you know, there's a lack of like the gothic architecture of the DMC games. You know, I wish there was more of that. Another negative, but is really a positive, is the music. I love the music in this show. I love that there is licensed music, but also music from the video game. I really think that's really dope. And again, the opening fucking track of Slim Biscuit, keep rolling, it gets you fucking hyped, and it gave me goosebumps. It made me very nostalgic for early 2000s rock and roll music. It was fucking awesome. Peak shit. I loved it. But there's one time when they used Devil Trigger, and I was like, first of all, this is not a good rendition of Devil Trigger. But I get it. It's Nero's theme, so we gotta change it up a little bit. But for me, it's the simple fact that they did the double trigger, but it wasn't in sync with what the fuck was going on screen. Like, it should have went like bang, 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 pull my double trigger, and Dante turns into his double trigger form. And it should have been not in the broad daylight. It should be like in the darkness where he turns into his double trigger. You know, because double trigger is like when you're pushed to your absolute peak. And then it's like turning Super Saiyan. You turning Super Saiyan, and like you reach your next form. I wish they would have had a moment where Dante's like really down, out for the count. Like, this is the end, like in DMC 3, and then he turns on his double trigger for the first time. But again, the rest of the soundtrack is amazing. I just think that was the one time where they screwed up. But I will say, on a positive note of that, ooh-wee, I love that they played the fucking national anthem, Devils Never Cry, and they made it into this angelic, soft version of it, like a typical anime, where you got the opening is like bombastic in your face, but then when you look at the fucking when you end the show, it's the soft, melancholy version of the Devilmaycry fucking national anthem. I love it. Overall, I will definitely say this is a pretty good adaptation of Devilmaycry. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's completely fine. You are all entitled to your opinions on that. What I don't like and what I will not tolerate is you telling me I'm not a Devilmaycry fan, or telling anybody who in the Devilmaycry community that we're not Devilmaycry fans because we enjoyed another style of media. To me, you're a fan if you purchase the games, played the games on any difficulty, don't give a fuck. You do videos on it. You talk about it amongst friends. You purchase stuff. You have seen or talked to one of the voice actors at any time in your life, or haven't. You praise Devilmaycry. You just love the series. You are a fucking fan. And don't let any motherfucker tell you how it is. You are a fucking fan. All right? I see a lot of people hating and getting up mad because, oh, well, you like slop. Who gives a fuck, bro? Like, let people enjoy what the fuck they enjoy. If you want a more traditional rendition of Devilmaycry that's more of a slice of life version of Devilmaycry, the fucking Madhouse Devilmaycry show is right there. You could go play it. You could go watch it. You could watch that boring ass shit. I think it's boring, even though there are good character moments. There are fun, and it's more accurate to the video games. I would never recommend that for a casual. I would recommend this for a casual, and then I would tell them to go watch the Madhouse Devilmaycry show. So again, as long as people's playing Devilmaycry, it doesn't matter to me. And we're seeing it work. Bunch of people have purchased the games because of this anime. So again, you know, you can't be beggars and choosers. You can't say, well, I want Devilmaycry and I want more people to get into the franchise and whatnot, and then keep people, and then fucking is wondering when the next time we're gonna get another Devilmaycry. Maybe this is how we get another Devilmaycry, by having more people join in the fucking community. How about that? So it just pissed me off. I just think it's annoying. And I will also say this, you know, I can sympathize with the people who don't like this show. Capcom has really not given a fuck about the DMC community. And they have shown their ass multiple times that they do not care about the franchise all too much. And that's the reason why we haven't gotten a new Devilmaycry game, because, you know, if it's not Resident Evil, if it's not Monster Hunter, hell, if it's not Street Fighter, Capcom doesn't see the point in it, in supporting stuff. And Devilmaycry fans, we have to fight tooth and nail for shit. So anytime we get something new or whatever, we kind of always have this stigma that it needs to be perfect, it needs to be flawless. to show Capcom or show people that it's a fucking amazing series. And I feel like, to me, we don't need to do that anymore. We already showed that the series is peak enough. You know, I think this show, the other medias, everything about this show is just straight up peak already. So, or this franchise is already peak. We already reached that limit. So for me, the reason I'm more accepting of this show is really honestly because I have Devilmaycry 5. You know, that was like a love letter to me, and I'm satisfied. I can accept new interpretations of Dante and new interpretations of the lore way more than the rest of the community, apparently. So there's that. Anyway, I know this video is long, but I had to get my thoughts out on Devilmaycry, the Netflix series. It's a good adaptation. It's not perfect. I would recommend this for newcomers, but for old comers or the veterans, I would say tread with caution. This is very different from our Devilmaycry, but I feel like if you go in with an open mind like how I did, you'll walk out being presently either surprised or you'll enjoy it. And I can't wait for season 2. Season 2 was already announced, so I'm looking forward to seeing how the story continues. And I think that's gonna do it for the video. Oh, before we go, for my new Devil Hunters who have just stumbled upon the video and you wanted to hear my thoughts, or you know, you just now got into Devilmaycry because of the Netflix show, welcome. We are very welcoming to new Devil Hunters. So I just want to tell you guys which order should you play the Devilmaycry games in, and I'm just gonna make it very simple for you. Most people would tell you just play it in the order of release, but I'm going to tell you to do a complete fucking opposite. I'm going to tell you to actually play it in timeline order, because I do think certain story bits hit harder once you know certain things are coming, and also you see the growth of Dante way more present in chronological order. So let me first start off by saying the first thing you're going to do is play Devilmaycry 3 Special Edition. That one can be purchased with the HD collection or the definitive edition, which I personally think is the Switch edition, which allows you to have style change, or you can play the game how you originally intended, which was you can only carry 2 weapons and you can only choose one style, and every time you want to change styles you have to go to like the save area or the buy moves and upgrade statue. Then after you've done beat Devilmaycry 3, I would highly recommend you play Devilmaycry 1. Devilmaycry 1 sets up kind of things that will come in Devilmaycry 5. So after you've done play Devilmaycry 1, you're gonna go and watch the Madhouse anime adaptation that is canonical to the Devilmaycry universe. So you watch that. It is a little bit boring because there's not a lot of action, but what it will do is set you up for understanding the daily life of Dante and what he does when he's not going on crazy adventures and whatnot. It's very much a chilled series. Personally, my favorite episode is the Lady and Trish episode that established their relationship. So check that out. And then after that, you're gonna skip 2 because you don't need to play 2. The only thing you need to know about 2 is that the villain that you meet at the end of the Netflix anime, August, is the villain from Devilmaycry 2. He's trash. He's irrelevant, and one of the Devil Hunter that you meet in Devilmaycry, the Netflix show, Lucille, she makes her debut in Devilmaycry 2. They haven't done anything with her, so again, you can skip that. Then you play Devilmaycry 4, get introduced to Nero. Then you move on. Then you read. If you want, you can read Before the Nightmare and whatnot to get you prepared for Devilmaycry 5. Then after you're done do all of that shit, then you can read the mangas of Devilmaycry 3. You can play DMC Devilmaycry if you want. I'm gonna leave that up to you. and you could probably bore yourself to tears with Devilmaycry 2. Having said all of that stuff, that's gonna do it for my video. Again, I apologize if this video is long. I don't give a shit. I just had to make this video. If you're new to the channel, please comment, rate, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let me know, what did you think of Devilmaycry, the Netflix adaptation? Comment below and let me know. And as always, more video is on the way. This is your boy, Mr. Degenerate, signing out. Have a good one, my devil hunters.